Hello, my friends. Today, I want to tell you a simple story from my life. When I was 12 years old, I did something a little strange. Every single morning, before school, before breakfast, I got on my bicycle and rode 40 minutes to Hangzhou International Hotel. I didn't go there to eat. I didn't go there to work. I went there to talk to foreigners. I would walk up to them and say, "Hello, my name's Jack. Can I be your guide today?" For free. Yes, for free. I didn't earn any money. My family didn't understand. My classmates laughed at me. They thought I was wasting my time. But I kept going. Not for a few days, not for a few months. I did it for almost 9 years. Rain or shine. And something interesting happened. The foreigners didn't laugh at me. They talked to me. They listened. Sometimes they corrected my English. Without knowing it, they became my teachers. One day, one of them said, "Your name is difficult for me. Can I call you Jack?" I said, "Okay." And that name stayed with me. Now let me ask you a simple question. Why did I do that? Why would a young boy ride so far every morning just to talk to strangers? Because I understood something very early. English is not just a language. It is a door. At that time, I didn't know what was behind that door. But I knew it was bigger than my small world. And I wanted to open it. That is what I want you to understand today. Learning English is not just about words. It is about opportunities. It is about seeing a bigger world. And the good news is, you can start the same way, simple, one sentence at a time. Many people study English for many years. They learn grammar, they memorize words, and they read books. Some of them even pass exams. But when a foreigner asks them a simple question like, "Excuse me, where is the train station?" they cannot answer. Their mind goes blank. They know the words, but they cannot say anything. Does this sound familiar? This is not because you are not smart, and it is not because English is too difficult. The real problem is simple. You trained your brain, but you did not train your mouth. Let me explain it in an easy way. Imagine you want to learn piano. You study music, you understand the theory, and you watch many videos, but you never touch the piano. What will happen when you try to play? Your hands will not move. You don't know where to put your fingers. Speaking English is the same. You may know many words in your head, but your mouth is not ready. Your tongue is not used to the sounds. Your breathing is not natural. These things need practice too. And this is where most people fail. They spend time reading, writing, and listening, but they do not practice speaking. Reading is not speaking. Writing is not speaking. Listening is not speaking. Speaking is different. It happens in real time. You don't have time to think too much. Someone is waiting for your answer. That is why it feels difficult. That is why many people feel nervous. But this is also why speaking is so important. If you want to speak English well, you must practice speaking. Not sometimes, but every day. Even a little is enough, but you must use your mouth. Because in the end, language is not only in your brain, it must come out. I want to talk about something very simple, but very important. Many English teachers do not say this clearly. The biggest problem is not pronunciation. It is not grammar. It is not vocabulary. The biggest problem is fear. And I understand this fear because I had it too. In many cultures, children are taught from a young age not to make mistakes in front of others. If you don't know something, it is better to stay quiet. This teaches respect, and in many situations, it is a good thing. But when you learn a language, this idea can hold you back because learning a language is different. You need to make mistakes. You need to try, even when you are not ready. You cannot stay silent and improve at the same time. It doesn't work that way. When I was young in Hangzhou, I practiced English with tourists every morning. I made many mistakes. I said things the wrong way. I used the wrong grammar. Sometimes people look confused. One time, I tried to say something simple, but the person didn't understand me at all. In that moment, I felt very embarrassed. I wanted to stop, but I didn't stop. I came back the next day, and the next day, because I made a simple decision. I told myself, it's okay to feel embarrassed now. Later, I will be better. That decision helped me continue, and slowly, step by step, I improved. Let me tell you about someone. I want you to picture her clearly. Her name is Rose. She's 26 years old. She grew up in a normal city, studied hard, and did well in school. Her English is not bad. She can read articles. She can write emails. But when it comes to speaking, everything changes. In meetings, she stays quiet. When she has a video call with international colleagues, her microphone is always off. When her manager asks for her opinion, her heart starts beating fast. She knows the answer. She has the idea in her mind. But when it is time to speak, she freezes. She starts a sentence, then stops. She smiles nervously and says, "Sorry, my English is not very good." And then she becomes silent again. After the meeting, she thinks about it again and again. She tells herself, "I knew the answer. I could have said it." But the moment is gone. And slowly, something more dangerous happens. She starts to believe a story. She tells herself, "My English is not good enough. Maybe I am not good at speaking. Maybe I will speak later when I am more ready." But here's the problem. That moment never comes, because if you only prepare but never practice, you are not improving. You are just waiting. I have seen many people like Rose. They're smart. They understand a lot. They have good ideas, but they don't speak. And when you don't speak, silence becomes a habit. And habits are not easy to change. So let me tell you something simple. The English you have right now is enough to start. Not perfect, but enough. You don't need better English to begin. You need to begin to get better English. That is the difference. So don't wait. Speak with what you have. That is how everything starts. I applied to Harvard 10 times, and 10 times they said no. After I finished university, I applied for many jobs, and I was rejected again and again. When KFC came to my city, many people applied, but I was the only one not chosen. I also tried to join the police, but I failed there too. Why am I telling you this? Because today, when people see me, they see confidence. They see someone who can speak in front of many people, sometimes even in English, without fear. They think I was always like this, but that is not true. At that time, I also felt confused. I asked myself, why do I keep failing? Sometimes I felt tired. Sometimes I felt I was not good enough, but I did not stop. Because slowly, I understood something important. Rejection is not the end. Rejection is feedback. It shows you what you need to improve. It shows you where you are still weak. And this is the same when you learn English. When you speak and make a mistake, it is not failure. It is a signal. It is your mind telling you you need more practice here. People who speak English well are not perfect. They're not people who never make mistakes. They're people who keep speaking, keep learning, and keep trying the next day again. So do not be afraid of mistakes. Use them, learn from them, and move forward, step by step. Here is something very important I want you to understand. Your mouth is a muscle. This is not just an idea. It is real. Your tongue, your lips, your jaw, they are all muscles, just like your arms or your legs. And like any muscle, they get better with practice. When you speak English, you are not only thinking about words, you are also moving your mouth in new ways. Some sounds are very different from your native language. Your tongue may need to touch your teeth in a new position. Your lips may need to change shape in a way that feels strange at first. That is why many people say, I understand English, but I can't speak. Understanding is only in your brain, but speaking is both your brain and your body. You may know the words, but your mouth is not trained yet. So what should you do? The answer is simple. You need to speak more, not just listen, not just read. You need to open your mouth and make sounds every day. You can speak when you are alone. You can speak in your room, in the shower, or while you are walking. It does not matter if it is perfect. What matters is that you practice. If you do a little every day, your mouth will slowly get used to English sounds. And one day, speaking will feel easier and more natural. I want to tell you about another person. Let's call him Daniel. Daniel was 22 years old, and he had just started his first real job. He worked in a company where some people spoke English, and once a month, they had an online meeting with a team from another country. Those meetings were always in English. At first, Daniel thought it would be okay. He could understand many things, maybe not everything, but enough to follow the conversation. Around 60%, but when it was his turn to speak, everything changed. His mind suddenly went blank. He knew what he wanted to say, but he could not say it. The sentence stopped in the middle. He looked at the screen and saw everyone waiting. No one spoke. They were waiting for him, and the longer he stayed silent, the harder it became to speak. So he said a few words, then stopped, and the moment passed. This happened again and again and again. After 3 meetings, Daniel felt very frustrated. He didn't feel stupid. He knew he could understand, but he could not express himself. And maybe you have felt the same. You understand English, but when you speak, nothing comes out. After the 3rd meeting, Daniel made a simple decision. He said, I will fix this problem myself. He didn't have money for a teacher. He didn't have time to go to a class. So he chose something simple that he could do every day. Every morning, he took his phone, he pressed record, and he spoke for 5 minutes. He didn't prepare, he didn't write anything, he just spoke. Sometimes he talked about his day, sometimes about the weather, sometimes about his work, sometimes about what he was worried about. He spoke like he was talking to a friend, but the friend was just his phone. In the beginning, it felt uncomfortable. When he listened to his voice, he didn't like it. He stopped many times. He used the same simple words again and again. He said, too often. Sometimes he didn't finish his sentence. It was not good, but he did not stop. He listened carefully, not to judge himself, but to understand what was happening. He started to notice small things. Where he stopped, which words he didn't know, which sentences were too difficult. And the next day, he tried again. After about 3 weeks, something changed. Not a big change, but a small one. He didn't stop as much. His sentences became a little smoother. He still made mistakes, but they were different mistakes. And this is very important. When your mistakes change, it means you are improving. After 6 weeks, Daniel had another international meeting. He still felt nervous. His heart was beating fast. But this time, something was different. When his manager asked him, Daniel, what do you think about this? He didn't stay silent. He took a breath and he answered, not perfectly. He paused a little. He made some mistakes, but he spoke a full idea, a clear thought, and people understood him. After the meeting, one of his colleagues sent him a message. Good point today, just 3 words. But for Daniel, it meant everything. He read that message many times because for the first time, he felt it. I can do this. What Daniel learned is something very simple but very powerful. If you want to speak better, you need to hear yourself speak. Because when you listen to yourself, you don't imagine your problem. You see it clearly. You hear where you stop